Hello, hello. Can you unmute?
Good morning.
Good morning, beauty.
Good
How are
morning.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good. Are you out your retreat?
Yes, I am. I'm at the woods. Yay.
You're in the woods. Do you know what town you're in? Have we figured that out yet? Nope.
Hold up. I'll tell you. Give me one.
Last week we had to boil this down as well. I was like, give me a nearby town. She's like, Monticello. I was like, you're near me.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it. So I'm in Harris, New York, town of James.
No idea where you are, but I'm happy to have you here.
It's good to see you, Graciela.
Yes, it's good to see you. How are y'all doing?
I'm well, very well. I am in Provincetown.
Yes.
This is what it looks like in Provincetown.
Oh, very
I know, right? You want to know what else looks like kind of cool in Provincetown? I'll show you.
Wait, let me see.
Yeah, Heather's been working on her teleportation skills.
You got together. Oh my gosh, Heather, how does it feel to be like together?
Amazing, amazing. It's been I've been here a week, right? Tomorrow would have been a week. I'm gonna leave right after this, but oh my gosh, it was a little bit overwhelming in the beginning because I literally have not been around really anybody. And though Provincetown is very particular, you have to wear masks everywhere. You have to, which is great.
Yeah, which is really good.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been in a house full of people. So it's been I'm like, wow, but it's been amazing. And it was very, very much needed. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, Joey? I mean, yeah, what are you drinking?
Oh, it's just lemonade.
Oh.
I know. I'm not a morning drinker. I can't spike this early.
I'm sure they did, but you're not there anymore.
I'm not where?
I said I'm sure that at one point in your life that you were an early spiker, but not anymore.
Oh yes. Yeah. No.
Like,
But
like tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah. I like a vodka lemonade.
Ooh,
Nothing wrong with that. So I'm excited because this is our first time having a return guest. And unfortunately, and it was such a great show, but the recording did not go through. So I had to revamp the Zoom, and here we are again. And what I'm really looking forward to is when Vanessa gets here, is that I very much wanted you and her to meet Graciela. That was one of the big things for me that I was like, oh yeah, because she's the only teacher I've ever been to for this kind of work, because I wanted to see how the Akashic Records were taught. And I was so impressed with her. And I really studied who I wanted to see. I did research on who I would go to as a teacher, and I was always impressed with her. And then I was so impressed after taking her class. I took level 2 as well, which is she makes you dig deep. And she also, which I guess we'll bring up, right, Joey, ancestral healing. And I thought the two of you could really dig in some deep stuff there. So I'm really excited to have her today.
yes.
For sure.
Class already.
You're like, I'm on the retreat for it, so we're all good.
Good morning, Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen. Oh, Mandana. Mandana's an old friend of mine from my dance days. And Marga, how are you?
Hi, Marga.
Wait, Heather, you were a dancer?
Yes. Yes. I did Dunham technique. I danced and taught Latin for a couple of years. Yeah, I think Mandan and I met in a djembe class a long time ago, long time ago. So yes, yeah, so that's great. Okay, hang on a second. Let me see here.
Heather and I were both dancers, not
That's
together.
no.
Oh, Joey, you dance too?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I danced with a couple of ballet companies, and yeah, studied it in college. Did a lot of
Amazing.
musical theater, taught a lot.
I just studied the club. That's what I studied.
That's right, girl. So there's somebody at the cabana door. Okay, Vanessa, I'm about to let you in. Give me 1 second. It takes a moment. And we're gonna.
Extra mosquito netting. We're having to move out of the way.
Yeah, you know,
You can find your way in.
it's the heat of the summer. The mosquitoes, they love to come out.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you? Yes. So
You
great
look
to be
fabulous.
Oh, yes.
here.
Vanessa, this is our fabulous co-host, Graciela.
Hi, Graciela. How are you?
Great. I'm so happy to meet you. They were telling me such wonderful things about you.
Likewise. They've said great things about you. So great to be by the poolside. with all-
Of course.
Great. It's so clean, Vanessa. I mean, you must have a really great pool boy.
I have a couple of pool boys. You know. One does not suffice.
Oh, that's so funny. Vanessa, you're our first return guest.
I know. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining us again. We had a grave error in our recording abilities, so I'm hoping that that Heather has remembered to turn the recording on. If not, then this is her cue.
No, it's on. It has
Okay,
been
good.
on. It is never going away. It is a long thing, but we have it.
Good, good. Well, should I do my official little opening? Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Joey Stocks. I'm here at the pool with my co-hosts, Heather Carlucci, psychic medium and medical intuitive, among other things. Oh, and dancer. And Graciela Asher, who's a Reiki master and ceremonialist and dancer. And I'm a professional dumbass, and I'm here to ask stupid questions. I'm so glad that we're all together again. I had to be out last weekend, and I know that Graciela and Heather had a great time together, but I missed them desperately, so I'm glad that I'm here. In our fantasy pool party, no one gets sunburned or sucks chlorine up their nose. The kids are fine, so I want to spend this perfect poolside hour with Vanessa Cordoniu. Oh God, Vanessa, I'm going to mess up your last name again.
Cordoniu.
Cordoniu.
You got it.
Thank you. Thank you. Our first return guest, and I'm so glad you're here.
Glad to be here. Thank you. Yes,
Vanessa, sorry, go ahead.
I was listening in that everybody had been a dancer. So I wasn't a professional dancer, but I studied belly dance for many years and did perform, and I loved it. Yeah, there's just something about being so present, at least for me in my practice, because I wasn't trying to get a job or to get paid through it or anything. It was just like, I'm in no competition, just being myself.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's so great. I miss it. I need to get back into it, but it's there's a whole emotional aspect of it for me, since I
agree.
since I did earn my living doing it for a while. There's that mourning of the thing that is now not accessible. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's about love. Anyway, I'll shut up. Like I said, I'm the dumbass. So last time that you were here, one of the things I wanted to know about was I wanted to talk about the Akashic Records. So we're just going to dive into that deep into the pool first. Because we didn't get to record, I remember when I asked you what are the Akashic Records? You had a beautiful, succinct definition of the Akashic Records. Would you mind sharing with us again?
Thank you. Well, the Akashic Records are the library of the soul. And so in essence, they chronicle every lifetime, every thought, every soul purpose of every existence. It is when we have extended from source, like we never leave source. We can feel like we're disconnected, but we've extended from source, incarnated, and the Akashic Records hold all of the information to support you in healing, manifesting, and clearing up any karma or any patterns that you're experiencing. It's really the chronicle of your soul's journey. So, yeah. And
That's fantastic. And you teach people about the Akashic Records. And so can you give us a kind of an overview of, like, I know that there are certain levels of class that you teach. Can you give us kind of an overview? I know Heather's taken your class. Two. Can you give us kind of an overview of what that is?
Absolutely. So after over 20 years of reading, you know, because I started at 10, right? After 20 years of reading tarot and doing other different types of psychic readings, a friend of mine recommended me to this program. And so the level was, it's Soul Journeys, Akashic Records certification. And so level 1, we learn to open the records for ourselves. We meet our Akashic record keepers. If people have done psychic work before, they probably recognize them as their angels, as their guides. They might have a pleasant discovery where they meet new folks that they didn't know about. And we learn to connect with our own guides, our own Akashic record keepers, to trust ourselves, to explore how we receive information, and also how we can heal and how we can manifest in the records. And I think that what I loved about that, and that's why I wound up teaching it, was that a lot of us through generations, and I'm like a 3rd generation on one side, 4th generation, like psychic medium, even though they didn't practice it in terms of exploring it in the world and getting paid, like I'm public, they're not. We don't do a lot of work on ourselves sometimes, right? Because we're busy, we're like giving, we're helping, we're healing, we're getting information for others, we're like a conduit, we're vessels. I love that this program kind of, it centers our own well-being and our own, filling our own cup first. So that's level 1. And in level 2, we expand into, well, how do we hold space for another person? And then not only how do we give information that's divinatory, but how do we help people unpack certain things so they can heal? Like I remember going to my old time readers who I love and adore, right? But they used to throw down the card, be like, no, you know, and throw down the card and be like very dramatic. I see, no, you can't do this, da, 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 da. And it's very, and you're like, and you leave there a little like shaken up. And, you know, I think that there's a purpose with being strong and raw and getting a slap in the face sometimes spiritually. At the same time, level 2, it's such a place of love and healing that people have said to me, I've never had a reading where I feel so loved that I feel like I can make the changes just because I'm not getting kicked. I'm not getting like, you know, told, which activates the inner critic for a lot of people. And so level 2, we learn to read other people. And level 3, we go to the next level. We're reading other people. How do we do this professionally? How do we not allow people to project on us, transference? And so the person who created this is someone who was a therapist. And so I really love it because we actually deal with psychological terms and themes. And so I think it's an amazing program.
I have to say that what I really appreciated, and you had talked about this actually during the class, and I think it's important that every teacher, even if you're going by a certain structure, that you add things to yourself, you know, of yourself and what you think can add to it as an experienced reader. But one of the things I really appreciated, as you were saying, we don't really work on ourselves. And if you're going to be a really good reader and really present, you have to, because you will get those people who trigger in you your own traumas, your own issues, and you dug deep so fast in that class. I mean, the first day of the first level, I was like, oh my God, I was like, I need a bath, I need a cocktail, and I need a good meal, because that was, and I knew what to expect for the next day. And I was, and I think we talked about this last time too. What I noticed is that the first class, the first level, was full of professionals like us, and then, you know, other people who have interest. And then by the time the second level comes, you shrink it down to like just those who are going to be like fully in there dealing with your stuff. It's a very It's a very raw experience. And I think it was really the thing that when I was writing the curriculum for my class that I teach, I felt like there was something missing. And when I experienced your class, I was like, that's it. You have to go that deep. And you have to let people know that they're going to be really like, you know, opening up everything.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Mm-hmm.
And I think too that, you know, we have to dispel the idea of this guru on the mountaintop that knows all, because then people are handing over their power to other people. And that's not what guiding and teaching and true support is. And like for me, I was already doing a lot of work before I hit that course in Sweat Lodge and in trainings and in my own, but I unpacked certain things that were keeping me from growing bigger in terms of my work, from expanding and connecting like even more, because I was already global when I hit this course, but like expanding even more, doing courses in Spanish. There's just levels of things out there like, oh, this is fine. I can work with 10 people. Well, do you want to do more? And are you holding yourself back for some reason? Right. So, yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, I know that one.
So, like I said, I'm the dumbass. I'm here to ask the stupid questions. Akashic Records, I love your description. When I've heard a couple of times people attempting to describe what the Akashic Records looks like. Is it a thing that you see? Can you kind of walk us through something that's a little more tangible?
So that's a great question. So thank you. It's very different for everyone. As we know, intuitive knowing comes through different ways, you know, so it could be from a little voice inside, from seeing, feeling in the body, hearing the information, just knowing, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience. And so I try to have people not have a big expectation that they're going to see stuff, right? And it always happens in class. I've been teaching intuition class separately from this for a long time. And people are like, I'm so mad, I can't see. That person sees. And the other person's like, I'm so mad, I can't hear. I see stuff, I don't know what it means, you know? So there's pros, cons to everything. Some people are a combination. And so I would say that the most, from the students who've taken it, what they sense and what they feel is a place of peace and love. So it's a feeling, right? Because it's energy. Then some people say, oh, wow, I see these columns, I see this temple. Some people say, I see the beach. Other people might see a pool. The Akashic Records, for some people, stay the same every time they go in. Like one person went in for themselves, they didn't share, but then, and level 2, somebody went in for them and read them. And they were like, that's exactly what I saw when I went in, but I hadn't shared it. So for some people, the Akashic Record is a place that looks the same all the time. And for others, it can change. Like I know the first time I ever went, which was, I don't know, a long time ago from a cassette that I did a meditation, it was a library, but then stars broke through. And I know that when I asked Heather as a part of the training to look into my records, she saw the cosmos and I was like, yeah, you're in my records. And so for everybody, it's different.
Yeah, what I also loved was that you brought in strangers for us to read. And that was, yeah, that was a lot. I mean, that was amazing. It was amazing to read you. And it was really amazing because afterward you were like, that was my sister. I'm glad I didn't know beforehand. No pressure.
I know. You know what? The woman who guided us and taught me that course didn't do that. We just worked with the people in the group. And I'm like, you know what? In my other class, I do that all the time. People got to get over it. And you know what? I realized as an intuitive, like when I was reading Friends, when I was reading Family, I always doubted myself a little bit because you already know them. But then when I suddenly I started working for an agency and I was being sent out on events and I was terrified on my way there with my little tarot cards shaking. And then I'd get there and it was like, boom, 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 because you have no information. And then you're like, you walk out, you feel really good because you're like, I did it. And I wanted everybody to feel that because I trust that. I knew that everybody would feel that. You know?
Yes, absolutely. I thought it was one of the most affirming things that had happened in that class. I thought it was great. Also just the fact that, I mean, as intuitives, we had to read each other, you know, because you don't know what you're going to walk into with that. And then of course, reading the strangers, which I thought was it was brilliant on your part, really.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was
Yeah, my
great.
sister was very touched by your reading, and it was, yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
So now I want to ask, so it's Akashic Records. So what are the records? You are not the first person I've heard describe it as a library of sorts. So what's held within this library? What is that? What is that like?
Love that. So Akasha is a word, right? That there's so many different words for what it is, which means energy, right? And like soul energy. And records is literally like the energetic history of your life and encoded information. So everything's held there. Like I've walked, I'll give you an example. I had a session, somebody came on and she didn't say anything. I just had her name. It was over the phone. And I opened her records and suddenly I'm on a ship and there's this young man and he's like trying to climb up and it's like the storm and it's overwhelming. It's like a movie, right? And I'm in it, I'm like describing it to her. And then he's like, why didn't I listen to my wife? Now she's pregnant, now what's gonna happen? And he saw bodies flying off and he was one of the last ones to finally fall off the ship in the storm and die. And she's sobbing and I don't know because I just keep talking and she's like on the phone and then the guides are like, this is why she's afraid of the water, this is why she's afraid of heights, this is why she's attracted to this person she's involved with, but this is why she's running from them, afraid to fail them. And so I shared and she's like, I'm terrified of water, I'm terrified of heights, I've been married to somebody that I don't love all these years because he's very abusive and I'm trying to leave and I met somebody new and I'm so attracted to them and yet I'm terrified of failing them. Right? So you get that type of, so I open the records, I don't know what I'm going to find. I might find an ancestor saying, hey, you need to practice more of your ancestral medicine. Or I might find an ex-boyfriend saying, I love you, I forgive you, please move on and be happy, you know, that energy. Or I might find this past life, like a cinematic, like intense thing where the person's crying and starting to release energy from just hearing the words. Where they're like, I don't even know because I never imagine what you're saying, but everything that you're saying is evoking emotion in me. So the energy within the records when shared evokes so much emotion and healing on many levels. So we can pick up past life information, current information, more potentials. So it could be a little divinatory, but at the same time, there's potentials. There's like, well, am I going to marry this person? Well, you could. Is it the best relationship? Is this what you really want? Or what do you need to heal in order to really receive the love that you're wanting? So that type of thing. And also how to clear certain karma. Or one of my best, like this is the question I love the most is, what do I need to shift within myself in order to receive this thing that I'm wanting? So it's empowering. You're not like, oh, this person's not loving me, that's not giving me, I'm not getting the raise. You're like, okay, what's going on with me to shift it? And that will change things. So you can find everything in there. What you can't do, at least the way I've been taught, and I honor it because I think it's ethical, is you can't go into other people's records unless they give you permission. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not in the record and they ask me about somebody and their guides are like, look, this is what we see about this person.
Right. The reading is for them, particular. Yeah.
Right. This is what I'm seeing. This person's not for you. They're not going to, like this happened last week. They're not going to call you. It's nothing personal. They're in their own bubble of depression and whatever, and you need to let go. And the person's like, ugh. And then this week they're like, wow, they just ghosted me completely. I'm like, right, they're in their bubble of depression, which has nothing to do with you. It hurts, but you know, it's not about you, really. So there's so much that can be found there.
Okay, we have Graciella's lost power, so she is only on low percentage. So I would love to get to either, we have a couple questions which I'd like to come back to later. We'll answer them, Mandana especially. But Joey, can we jump into ancestral healing? Because
Yeah, well,
I think that's something I'd love for the two of them to sort of walk into a little bit together.
I totally agree. Well, and you, Vanessa, you just mentioned ancestral history. So I know that there's a whole world that's involved with ancestral history and healing. And can you talk to us a little bit about when you teach ancestral healing, what exactly that's like?
You know, so I haven't been teaching ancestral healing. Well, that's where I'm headed next. So, you know, you got that future third eye going. What I've been doing for a long time is holding circles in person, like 20 years in New York City, where we do ancestral like ceremony, ritual, we build an altar, and we do certain things where we connect on a journey with a pattern or a story that the person's carrying, and discover where it started, and then bring healing to the ancestor so we could be released. And we also tap into a gift. So I did it through ritual and ceremony. And then in the last, I mean, this year specifically, but the last 2 years, I've been doing it through hypnosis a lot. But if it happens in Akashic Records, I'll do it. Hypnosis, I literally guide the person in, where I ask the higher self, is this a past life issue or a present life issue or an ancestral? And I take in an intake. That's my own process that I've developed in the last 20 years of using hypnosis, that we go in and we go to the core, and then we heal it on an ancestral level. So I've been doing tons of those during COVID, because I've brought up so much trauma and so much. So there are different ways that I do it, right? I've done it in ceremony and journeying. I've done it in Akashic Record space, and then I've done it in hypnosis space.
That's so fascinating. So when you say ancestral healing, you're, oh, shoot.
Oh no, did we lose her?
I think we've lost her.
Okay, she might plug in, so we'll just keep going and we'll probably get her back. She's
Great.
on it. She's on this retreat, this big retreat that she does with Sweat Lodge and all this same kind of ceremony we're talking about. And they lost power last night, so she's sort of running a little, off. But we'll keep an eye on her until she comes back. Okay, go ahead.
So, when I think about healing, I think I'm so present-minded that it's, about, oh, here's the stuff that I've dealt with, and then my past of this life, and the healing of that I've that scar tissue that I've been living with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that, am I correct, that the idea that your ancestors' trauma can also get passed along through the generations, is that correct?
Yeah, there's a science that's developing around epigenetics, right? And so saying that the DNA shifts and changes in terms of the experiences that one is having. And it really is because, I've worked with people who come in and they're like, oh, men suck. And, I've had these relationships and they're like 10 of them, right? It's 10 bad relationships. And I go in and I check in hypnosis, and boom, it's like this horrible situation, maybe 8 generations ago. She's seeing the woman crying and like all the things that happened to the poor woman, and the woman doing, sometimes the women doing a spell. Sometimes there have been women who've done vows or spells, or like, no woman in my family will, I mean, it's true. It's happened twice. Or not a spell, but just, we can cast spells without using our little magical accoutrements, right? We could just do it by just repeating something over and over again. And energy follows thought. And we're like, never again, never again, never. And it's like, okay, now you've created a spell. And literally, she was not living her life. She just had this thing where it's like, no, everybody sucks, everybody sucks. So she kept attracting them. When we lifted it, I think it was a month and a half later, she's like, I can't believe it. I met somebody, it's new. And then a year later, she's like, we're engaged now. I've been the happiest. He's in it. I'm in it. We're so happy. And so we carry, like, I would say for me, it was working hard. I'm an immigrant. My family's an immigrant. And generations of immigrants. People landed in Argentina, they were immigrants from Italy and Spain and other places. They landed in Italy and Spain, they were immigrants from other places.
That's right.
So, right? So it's like it keeps, like this whole thing about working really, really hard. I'm always aghast a little bit at people who like work the least and expect a lot, right? And I've had to heal a lot to bring in more ease, which I have now. But I had that energy that I didn't even know. I thought this was like the right way to be. You work hard, you get ahead. That's what you do in New York in life. And
That's
I was
right.
like, right? And I'm like, you inherited this, you saw it, you took it in. And
That's right. That's right.
Lots of the things, and it can shift so much. I mean, I even had a woman who, let's say, a great grandmother had committed suicide. They didn't talk about it much, but she did know about it. And next thing you know, she's about 33 and she starts thinking about killing herself. And she's like, I'm not depressed. And I'm like, do you talk to a therapist? And I encourage everybody, especially with suicidal thoughts or with other things that I know are beyond the scope, like they need psychiatric help. And so we did a hypnosis, and it was the grandmother hanging out, like literally energetically, because the grandmother did it at that age.
Yeah.
It's like, we had to release her. We had to let it go. She's great. She got a book deal, bought a house, this woman, she's happy. I think love is coming our way. But yes, we inherit energy patterns, thought patterns, patterns of being from our families. And this is a prime time for us to release it because of everything that's coming up in the world. Black Lives Matter, pedophilia that's always been here from time immemorial, all the things that are coming up into the view through media.
Mm-hmm.
Time to heal, you know. So
Yeah. What can you just tell me, what is it about hypnosis that allows you to access that in a way that maybe you wouldn't otherwise?
I like to do it through hypnosis because I feel that it allows the person to literally hear themselves say the words and feel it in an embodied way. If I had my top choice, I'd be sitting in person, right, with a journey, and we'd go into journeying, which could be like hypnosis, because journeying and trance and meditation and hypnosis have a lot to do with each other. We're leveraging naturally occurring state, right, where our brain waves slow down, we're accessing more of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So my top choice would be to be in a space, and I've done it, where we're sitting in a circle and we're doing our thing and we're going deep. I can't do it because of space, you know, and location. I like to do hypnosis because I feel that people let go of their conscious mind and they go in and they allow themselves to release, and I'm able to release it mind, body, and spirit. We've done it in Akashic Records too.
Yep, that's right.
Hour. It was like, I was like, I'm seeing these grandmothers, they're lined up. She goes, let's go, I'm ready, let's in. We're like, but I would say that if somebody's not at that point, getting an induction, going in deeper, relaxing, right? Being able to let go of expectation can happen with hypnosis. So,
You know, one thing I want to bring up quickly, because, you know, so much of what I do is medical. And what I think is really fascinating is we're talking about epigenetics, is that as I got stronger in my medical work, I guess about like 10 years ago, I could really see it, maybe a little bit more, but is that as I read somebody, if I continue to read, I can see where it comes from their current DNA, and then I can see where it comes from their past life DNA. Yeah, so DNA of this lifetime, which can go as far as anything. Like whenever I read somebody with an autosomal disease, which for us is Tay-Sachs, sickle cell, that autosomal diseases, when I read all the way back from this life DNA, always starts in slavery and abduction. Always, right? And of course, we see people of Tay-Sachs, Ashkenazi Jew, right. Sickle cell, right? African Americans, more recent. And then as past life DNA, and you can still see how there's like this fine thread that goes right into the illness of the person from past life as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just extraordinary to me. And it would make complete sense why you would sort of use hypnosis, because you know, sometimes getting into somebody is like a barricade. You know, like they're so worried about not giving like the psychic, like loose information that they can run with and make them think they're right, you know, that they're like sitting there like, you know, like you can feel it. And yeah, that makes complete sense. I think that's an amazing tool.
And it also allows me, thank you for that information. And that's amazing work that you're doing. It allows me to set new stories, because I'm in the subconscious.
Yes.
I can anchor in a new story. I can anchor in a new reality. For me, I would say there was a good relationship. My grandparents had a good relationship, but my mom's side, but he had to sacrifice a lot of his career because my grandmother got a bad blood transfusion when she was 30. Mm-hmm. She was sick. Like, I don't know if it was hepatitis or leukemia. It was like something that she didn't have, but they gave it to her through a transfusion. And my other family, my grandparents, she had to sacrifice herself for his artistic career and his philandering. So there were a lot of like really good examples of relationships. Somebody always had to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And so I found that I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Right. Proposed many times, said no to everyone except one, but then he cheated. I had to cancel the wedding. And because I was like, no, I'm not doing that to myself. And at some point I'm like, wait a minute. So finding love is not hard for me, but at all. I don't feel that it's hard for me. I feel that it comes, and I found it many times. And how do I release? What do I need to release in order to be happy, and it was like a combination ancestral and past life. And what I didn't know, so this is what I was talking about. You asked about hypnosis. hypnosis allows your conscious mind to relax. Had you asked me 6, 7, 8 years ago, do you believe you could have it all? I've been like, of course, we're incarnating to potentialize all that we've ever been, blah, blah. But subconsciously, I was still holding this pattern of you're either going to pick a love life and a family and children, or you pick the spiritual path. I didn't know it. It was a subconscious thing. You'd interviewed me, I would be like, yes, I believe in love and family. You can have your career. You could have your spiritual path. But when I went in, I realized all of my family, that's why they weren't public. They all picked family, right? And that's why they were not public. And that going far beyond that in past life, I was forced to make a choice. Like I was like, you're going to the temple, that's it. Right. Or you were coming out of the temple and now you're going to marry this guy because it's going to be a good political union and that's what you have to do. And so once I let go of all of that, I was like, oh, I can have it all. My business grew while being here in Pennsylvania in love and planning a wedding. And
that's right. It did a lot.
Yeah, so it's pretty miraculous, like what can shift.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, probably Heather used the term, you have to get through the barricades. I mean, just speaking for me personally, I'm sure this is true of everybody who's here right now. I'm a master at putting up barricades for myself. So, if I can barricade myself, I can sure as shit barricade you, and so it makes sense to me that hypnosis would be one of those tools that would help, as you just said, relax the conscious mind, get that out of the way so you've got a little easier path into that. And I was just also thinking about this concept of ancestral trauma, ancestral experience being passed down. And you can really see it. I mean, I've certainly witnessed this in my own family, how I have, for instance, great anxiety around money. It's embedded so deeply, my sister and I both have it, but it's embedded so deeply that I realized at some point it goes beyond my own experience, which is enough to have trauma around money. But there was trauma around money that my mother had, and that her mother had, and that her mother had. And not that I knew my grandmother's mother, but I've heard the stories, and there are trace elements just within the storytelling that leads me to go, oh yeah, I get it. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, we've got a question or a comment here. It says that this is the crux of so many of our questions. What do I need to release and how do I do that?
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that this should give us hope because there are so many tools we can use, right? I think that the important thing is to understand, because I've met people who, and I try not to be judgmental, that are like, yeah, I accepted it. It's not going to work for me. And I'm like, how could you not look? Because I'm very
I feel the same way.
I'm very curious about life. I knew at a young age, I was like, life isn't supposed to be this way. Let me explore. How could it be? What can I do about it? I think we can't give up. And when we have to allow that, because we've been, we have blinders there, ancestral blinders, past life blinders, present life trauma blinders, all of these things that we've been told. And we need to be like, oh, wait, but there's a world outside these blinders. I'm curious. I don't know what it is. Let me allow myself to look past that, It's pretty wild because I think about it, and I really, my mom passed in April, and my brothers were talking. My sister felt like my mom had favored my brothers, and it was only really her perception. I did not feel like that at all. But one of the things that I said to my sister, I was like, we are the first ones of our kind. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, you've married a woman, you're free, you're out. I never got married. I don't have, biological children. I've dared to turn men down when people are like, you're getting older, you've got to, I don't care, I've been on my own since I'm 20. It's like, there's never been another woman that we know of, maybe, back in the day somewhere.
Right.
But we're the first of our kind. Everybody gets married or stays with their parents until they get married. You know, I have a cousin who's in her 40s and living with her parents, right? And nothing wrong with that, but that's in Argentina. Like, you stay with your family,
That's right.
marry, or you don't. If you get divorced, you move back in. Like, you've been on your own, I've been on my own, and we live very radically different lives. Our brothers are breadwinners. They followed the line, what people do, what men do. I was like, they're great guys. They also clean and cook, so they've broken the mold that way. I was like, but it would make sense that you would feel that energy with mom, because even though she was innovative, we've now taken it to the next level. And so there's going to be that pushback of, she's going to be like, no, that's not the way things are. And my sister's going to be like, nah. And I don't even argue. I would just do it. And I'd be like, it's okay. Thank you, mom. Love you. And I would do my own thing. So it happens that way too. Like, when we are the first of our kind, or the second of our kind, or the one that's doing something differently,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good, I think, almost mantra to have. Just, I'm the first of my kind. I mean, anybody could say that, but it's really true, especially societally right now.
Yeah.
We do have one interesting question from before I'm really curious about. It says, as lay people, we can access those records/energy, which may not be possible, I realize. Can there be anything that we, for lack of a better word, shouldn't see in our own Akashic records?
That's a great question. I don't believe that your higher self will allow you to see anything that's not good for you.
I agree as well.
Right? Like, you've got your higher self that's managing all the information, your deepest knowing. And I've seen some intense stuff. Like, as a teenager and a young person, I had nightmares, like seriously bad nightmares. But they all fit into place with information as I grew older, not even that much older, like within my teenage years. So it wasn't like scarring me, you know, but for some reason I had to remember it. So trust that your inner self, your higher self, your wisest self is giving you the information in a manageable way, giving you the information in a way that will guide you to the next step. And we can also ask for that. We can just go in, close our eyes, say a prayer if we want, or just say, hey, higher self, angels, guides, God, I want to know more about myself, guide me in the right way, make it manageable. And I like to throw that word in, manageable, like even when I do hypnosis, because people are afraid that it'll be too overwhelming, you know?
Yes, it's true. Everybody, I think most people I know that especially have not sort of dipped their toe in the pool, or maybe even when they have, if they're not ready, the fear it's not going to be manageable. Like, they're not going to be able to handle it.
I did too at some point. I had a fear of losing my mind when I was younger, but it's because I didn't. So I was like, therefore, but now I don't have that at all. And it's not even anything I ever even think about. But and also too, I think that we've heard stories along the lines, you know, talk about ancestors. Don't go there, you might lose your mind. It'll be too much, they'll overtake you, the spirit world.
Right.
I think even in Judaic tradition, men don't even start to learn the deeper mysteries till after 40, right? I don't think you could learn the deeper mysteries of the Judaic tradition till after 40, and it was only men. Like, you had to be a full adult. And I think other traditions too, that some of the mysteries are not open to you until you're a certain age or established, you know, grounded in your life somehow.
And those men were also, or those people of that group are the most protected. They don't have to deal with a lot of what everybody else has to deal with in that group of people too, as well. And yet that's who's going to handle it. You know, we have to sort of think about that.
Exactly. No, exactly. So.
Yeah, this is a kind of, you have a background in improvisation, so I'm going to improv this this thought that I had this morning. So just ride with me for a minute. We lost John Lewis, who's, you know, been such an important leader in this country, and currently Ruth Bader Ginsburg is battling cancer. And I remember a few weeks ago, I'm not getting super political here, I promise. This is going somewhere, but it's not political. Exactly. I remember a few weeks ago, I watched a webinar that Barack Obama led, and he spoke at the beginning of it, but then he very much wanted to turn the attention over to, as he phrased it, the younger generation. And he was constantly redirecting everything that came at him. He would take, he would accept, and then he would redirect towards somebody, some younger person. And he'd assembled some amazing minds, young, old, doesn't matter. They were just some amazing minds. And one of the things he continued to say then, and he continues to say now, and has been saying for a while, is we need to be nurturing and bringing up the new generation, and this new generation needs to step up. And it's brought back to me because John Lewis just passed. We've got a whole set of leaders who are older and who are not going to live forever. And so who, if, you know, the people of my generation, I feel like we've kind of grown apathetic in a way. You know, the John Lewises will take care of us. The Ruth Bader Ginsburgs will take care of us. I'm just wondering, how does that read? When you start to read that energy that's happening in the world right now, where there's huge shifts happening, including our leaders who are of a certain age, who are either stepping down or passing on. I'm curious about that energy. Do you know where I'm going?
Totally. And, you know, I always listen to where I'm guided to like show up. And 15 years ago, I heard you got to go out there and start teaching people about intuition because they need to trust themselves because the world is going to crumble and the institutions and everything that we believe in. A year and a half ago, I was like, you've got to like go even louder with the ancestral. It's always been a part of my work, but it wasn't the main thing. So I started to shift and they just kept saying the elders are going, the elders are going. Like my guides kept repeating that. It's time for the next generation to step up. And, you know, and I think if you're saying your generation, our generation would probably be Gen X, right? Like a lot of that energy. And that's part of like why I've been doing these trainings like crazy during COVID, right? And I did a pay what you can, like Reiki, energy healing, level 1, like 5 times. I didn't turn anybody away. If somebody wrote me and said, I don't have anything, I'm like, fine, come in anyway. Because I knew I would still make money and I did. And today I'm actually guiding 38 souls into the level 2. So that's why I've been activated, like, and I don't really teach Reiki online, but it's like, okay, let's go. We've got to help activate the next generation. Even though, let's say, Gen X, we're a certain group, we're the teachers now, we're the guides. We may not be, some of us may be the leaders who are in Congress, some of us may be the leaders, but we may be also the ones who are going to usher in the next ones and push them into the limelight. Because, you know, we're seeing with Black Lives Matter, a lot of youth stepping up. And even before then, what is it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago with Congress, we had all of these young women of color coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which, you know, our president, which I don't want to get political, you know, told them to go back to their country, but we won't get into that, right? So we know what we're dealing with here. But it's our role now to guide and support and make way for them
Yeah, I agree. There's, as you just said, there are some amazing people who are in the generation right after me, right? And the generation ahead of me is checking out. And I feel like, I'm going to speak specifically for my generation, I feel like we're a generation of really apathetic, spoiled, rotten people who've had some amazing people to lead us. And we've got some amazing people behind us, but we're kind of in that place. Is there anything that you read about, this is a terrible question, give me a minute. Is there anything that you can tell us about activating ourselves in this generation? The people who've maybe grown accustomed to living in kind of spoiled existence to a degree. And how we can step into becoming those leaders, becoming those teachers, using the wisdom that we've gathered, because we haven't been completely checked out. How do we activate that within ourselves? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. And I don't agree with you. I think some of your generation has been very much working behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
I think we're the interesting generation of activists that figured out how to intertwine activism with getting into government from behind the scenes on a local level and on a bigger level. I think we're maybe not as showy, and I think things got out of hand on a higher level, but I think in very many ways. We sort of, some people were very aware of what they could and could not do in public, and went through a back way, which I think is sort of interesting. I mean, I think that's where Bernie Sanders came in, actually. I mean, he's older, but he sort of guided that for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of us and a lot of folks going in through the back way, doing things underground, undercover.
Mm-hmm.
I would invite everybody who may have, you know, been spoiled or rested or chilled out, like that wasn't reality. It's time to wake up. It's time to root down and rise up, and that you have everything that you need. And it's okay to mourn whatever reality you thought you had, which really wasn't real, because there was a lot of this going on. All of this was already going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was like fantasy, right? And I think that's what a lot of people are suffering right now, which is everybody's like, oh, well, because I'm going to do this next year, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to get promoted, and this was, you know, and I mean, I rescheduled my wedding, I rescheduled my retreats again, like twice each thing, which is, I don't really, people are like, are you upset? I'm like, no, it'll happen when it happens. But I know that for some people, it's breaking up their mind, body, and spirit. They're on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to having to do this because I've worked online for 8 years. But I would say is like, this is actual reality.
Yeah.
We are adaptable. We are resourceful. The reason your ancestors made it through generations and thousands of years is because they adapted. Like, let me tell you, I looked at my DNA report. I was like, oh my God, my people were hungry. They were leaving. They were here. They were there. I was like, you know, my partner's from Turkey. His people were there in one place. I'm like, it must have been a very fertile area, because my people were all over. They were Latin America, China, Russia, wherever they were, you know, Europe. And that's who we actually truly are. We truly are improvisational. We truly are adaptable. We truly are created to shift, but we've fallen into some sort of lie. And I mean, we had to, for a while, kind of lie to ourselves, because that's how we grew cities, and we grew governments, and we grew systems, and we were able to grow countries, right? And kingdoms, etc. But now we need to be like, oh, we did it out of survival in this old way. A lot of it needs to be toppled down and be rebuilt.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the strength to do it. And we were doing it as survival, right? The old way, power over people, as opposed from power from within. Starhawk says that. She's an activist out in California and a witch. We love Starhawk. And so we need to, that's how we need to wake up. We're like, okay, I was in a dream. And I mean, some Gen X that I've met are very critical, but they're doing it from their couch, right? And that's one thing that always bothers me too. I'm like, well, what are you doing about it? Like, what are you doing about it? I'm like, hey, at least I'm trying to train the next generation. What are you doing? And I'm sending some money, and I'm being vocal in my Instagram stories or whatever. And so what can we do? Not all of us are meant to march, right? Not all of us are meant to be like leaders getting voted into Congress. But how can we support the leaders that we see? How can we be vocal about issues that people don't want to talk about? You know, people are like, oh, it's so stressful. Really? Well, it's very stressful being a Black person in this country. And
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Or not being able to get health insurance for anybody.
Or
right?
education. I talked to, you know, and even I talked to somebody very privileged yesterday who said to me, I'm a lawyer and I took out all these loans. I don't want to do this work anymore. I want to be a vet, but I already owe so much money for my law. And now everybody's looking, because I said, I see you, and I see you walking out on your own, and people are looking at you like you're crazy, but you're going to still do it. And then people are going to join you and believe in you. So it's something that, a decision you're making where you've got to step out on your own. She goes, oh my God, it's this, right? This is what it is. And she's like, but the fact that education is so expensive. Hey, I'd like to go back and actually get my license in therapy and be a therapist, right? I wouldn't go do the work, but I'd have it as something that I can also do. And get the training. I love to study. It's thousands. And like, I'm like, okay, at this point, do you buy a house? Do you go back to school? So there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of levels.
I just want to point out something that I found very moving that you just said that I'm afraid it might have slipped by everybody, which is you have everything you need. That's such a powerful statement.
Yep.
And yeah, that's a good one to just sit with.
Thank you.
As scary as everything gets, you have everything you need.
Yes, yes. And, you know, I'm getting chills, and thank you for highlighting that, because we do. And we have more than a lot of our ancestors did. there's so much power in like the digital world, right? I hated computers back in the day. Now I love them. Look what we're doing today, right?
Right.
So how do we use what we have in a way that serves all of us, not just some of us?
I think that's a really good word too, serves. You know, how do we serve others? I think, and thusly, we find we have what we need when we serve others, always,
Yes.
always.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a psychic pool party.
And sometimes it's like a cool party.
It goes into the deep end and stays there and is trying to like paddle back.
That's right. Thank you for coming back, Vanessa. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much. So much.
Love you both. And sad she had to leave. I want to get to know more.
We got, you know what? We're gonna have to do it in person. We're gonna have to do the pool party in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll mask up and make sure there's plenty of chlorine, and we'll do it in person.
Totally. I need it. I've not been within an inch of a real pool in a long time, so thank you.
Well, I don't know if you saw at the beginning of the hour, but I'm actually in the same room right now as Joey, which means I have not been around people. This is my first time. We're in Provincetown together, so we are we are here.
Enjoy.
Yes, our pool has been an ocean so far, which is the best pool
It
ever.
is the best pool, yeah.
Yes, so
Truly.
Great.
Thank you, Vanessa. We'll be in touch
Thank you.
soon. And thank you, everybody, for showing up.
good. Everyone.
Thank you all.
So
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Be well.